You've got to get in there.
All right. Hey, good morning, YouTube. What's going on out there? How's everybody doing for a Monday? We made it back again. Not that we wanted to necessarily. I'm not sure about that. But thanks for checking in here. We'll get this rolling, see what's going on. See who's checking in with us. There's your weather. Some weather stuff going on out there. Looks like there's a lot of rain down in the northern Arizona, Utah area. Kind of odd. We didn't get nothing. But that's all right. So looks like all up and down the Idaho rain and Texas rain. Is it ever going to stop raining in Texas would be the question. Possibly not. Let's go see. We got Wes S with us here this morning. What's going on, Wes? That is weird. You are the first one. At least the first one to comment. Very weird. Unusual days, right? Lover of Truth 3-2. Good morning. Good morning. Hope everybody's morning finds them well. At least as well as you can get for a Monday, correct? It's hard to get too well. But I hope everybody got plenty accomplished over the weekend. Got all your list whittled down to something more manageable before the winter sets in on us. And one thing I was trying to figure out when I was looking at this, is there a way to superimpose temperatures on here? But it didn't give me that option, I don't think, to do anything like that. Possibly. Yeah, all the weather's down south there. See if anybody else checks in with us in the next minute or so before we move on. Oh, snowfall overlay. Oh. Oh, it has precipitation temperature. Maybe it will let us. Oh, look at, well, this gives us numbers. 20s in Salt Lake City. Warmed up a little bit here this weekend. I think we're around 30. Well, that's an interesting view. Oh, there we go. Even prettier colors. There we go. It looks a lot colder than you might presume. All right, let's move on. So not only weather, now we got temperatures we're going to be able to show off. Kind of fancy. Anyway, we'll play around here and get dangerous in a little bit. Speaking of dangerous, large hurricane, Category 4 off of Mexico. We don't hear about this too often. This could have an effect on some of our rain and water situation, depending on how this thing goes. Let's see what they're going to say about this thing.
The Eastern Pacific remains extremely active. We now have our 10th hurricane of the season. We're tracking two systems actually in the Eastern Pacific, one a hurricane, one a tropical storm. Let's start with the hurricane, and this has become a monster. In the less than 48 hours, went from a depression to a Category 4 hurricane. Hurricane Willa now on the map, and this is threatening the coast of Mexico. So here's the track, and this looks like it will weaken by the time it makes landfall, but still coming on shore as a strong Category 4 storm. So this is going to be a problem for Mexico. A lot of rain, and then right on its heels, we're tracking Tropical Storm Vicente. Now, this is going to bring rain to all the same areas, even though it's a much weaker storm. So we are looking at some problems midweek to late week for parts of Mexico, and even this moisture could drag up into Texas, which means damaging wind, flooding, and a mudslide threat for much of Mexico.
That doesn't look good for your rain situation, Wes. That showed rain all the way up into Texas. That could be bad. Up into what day are we talking here? Thursday a.m. hitting the Tejas border there. So that'll be moving on, pushing a lot of water into Arizona too, I would imagine. So that is kind of interesting. Sounds like it's weakening quite a bit, but getting kind of late in the year to have really strong storms. Yeah, Wes, speaking of the caravan, yeah, so that's going on. Our human wave invasion on the southern border, who have pretty much overpowered Mexican federales, it appeared. I guess it was one of those things like there's more of us than there are of you. We'll just keep going. That keeps going deeper into Mexico. I saw a couple images of like the police had been beaten up a little bit, but I don't know where that came from, and I didn't see a confirmation. Like they had overpowered a police line or something and gotten an altercation, but I never saw another image like it. But who's taking all these pictures? But the wave is quite large, and I guess Mexico's just not good enough for them. I guess they're just a bunch of racists that don't like Mexicans. Not peaceful enough in Mexico for them, I guess. So they're still moving on. They're in the southern city of Tapachula. Yeah, this is just similar to that whole, you got to wonder, just like all the supposed refugees that left war-torn Syria and everything else, like why couldn't they just stop in Turkey? That's their neighbor. Why aren't their neighbors helping them out? The amount of staged event this is I don't know. It doesn't seem like, I don't see how people could take this as legit. It's like these people feel like they have to go to the United States for, it's their only way out. Mexican president suggested Sunday that the United States, Canada, and Mexico work out a joint plan for funding development in poor areas of Central America and southern Mexico. caravan, which started out more than a week ago with less than 200 participants, has drawn additional people along the way. What are the odds? Swelled to an estimated 5,000 on Sunday. That's 1,000 more than last week. Later in the day, which was yesterday, later in the day, Sunday, Guatemalan authorities said another group of about 1,000 had entered the country from Honduras. Migrants received help from sympathetic Mexicans who offered food, water, and clothing. Hundreds of locals driving pickups, vans, and cargo trucks stopped to let them clamber aboard. So they get a little bit of a ride. And where's Tapachula? Mexican civil defense officials from the southern state of Chiapas had said they offered to take the migrants by bus to shelter to set up an immigration by officials, but the migrants refused, fearing that once they boarded the buses, they would be deported. Should have just rounded them up there. At least he's got foot powder. Hey, Alicia's joined us. Good morning. What's going on? So that migrant caravan continues, the invasion caravan. I don't know, however you want to name it. Doesn't seem to be slowing down, and it's gaining more steam, more participants from who knows where. But apparently they're not happy in Mexico because they're all a bunch of racists. They don't like Mexicans, I guess. But we'll see what happens, Wes, when it hits your southern border, right? Bug Out Bubba, good morning. How you doing? Yeah, Mexicans don't want them stopping there, Wes. I think you're right about that. Bit out of shape. Good morning. So, Wes, what's Texas going to do? Well, we know what's going to happen here. They're not going to hit Texas. They're going to hit San Ysidro. They're going to come to California. They're going to hit the San Ysidro border crossing and come into California because that's going to be the easiest for them. So they have the most sympathetic. Or if it's like the last one, they just disperse about 100 miles out and come in at about 4 or 5 different ways. And people wonder how countries collapse. So that is going on there. We'll see how that hurricane affects this, West. That will be interesting because that's going to be a pretty much weather all this week up through northern Mexico between a hurricane and a tropical storm back to back. Be lots of weather all week. I don't know if they're necessarily going to be walking in that. But if they're getting lots of car rides, it won't matter, I guess. So I found that interesting that is ongoing. Moving on. We're seeing what the World War situation's looking like. It's like we've sent a carrier back to the Arctic for the first time in a long time, I guess. Up in the Norwegian Sea area. For the first time in nearly 30 years, a Navy carrier is back in the Arctic Circle. Harry S. Truman entered the Norwegian Sea on Friday. First carrier to do so in September of 1991. So pretty much since the fall of the Soviet Union. Preparing to participate in a massive NATO exercise late October, early November. So more poking the bear. And not that we don't know why necessarily, but I'd find that interesting. No carrier had been up there since that. That's a long time. Been too busy swimming around the Persian Gulf. So the chief of naval operation, Richardson, warned this summer that Chinese ships are regularly underway in the nearby North Atlantic and that Russian subs have been active in those waters for about a quarter century. Chinese send ships all the way around there? I've never heard that. Interesting. Exercises taking place October, November will be in Norway off the shore and plus the Baltic Sea. It's slated to involve 14,000 Americans, 36,000 from friendly nations, NATO, 50 aircraft, 65 ships, 10,000 vehicles. Got to book those numbers up. This is called Carrier Strike Group 8. So more prodding the bear going on out there that way. We got saying out here. You bet those sailors are having a blast, West. I'm not sure if moving into winter in the North Sea of the Atlantic is the best place to be as a sailor. Not the most pleasant ride, from what I understand. All right, go catch some fish. That's what I'm talking about. Been out of shape. Bug Out Bubba says he's worried more about the Muslim populations growing in the U.S. Oh, are you up near Dearborn? Don't go to Dearborn, Bug Out Bubba. You should know this. It's been like that for 20 years. Yeah, they don't like you coming around. That's pretty crazy, isn't it? And it's not the only place like that in the U.S. either. It's like living in the Jim Crow South, and you're not white in some of those places. So we continue to keep our eyeballs on the Russians there, and to what end? Zero Hedge had an article seemed to tie into this. The Mediterranean energy war. Did I get this over? We'll see what Zero Hedge has to say about this. We covered quite a while back about the different energy plots up for competition when the Russians were trying to get their pipelines put in, and how that all tied together. But I'm not sure how this works into that. But this is out of oilprice.com. Europe is surrounded by states with abundant energy resources, but supply from these countries is not always reliable. Russia is regularly accused of using energy as a weapon. However, major discoveries in the Eastern Med could mitigate dependence on Russian gas. Yeah, they just signed a big deal with the Russians. The EU did, what, 2-3 months ago? Right when everybody thought they were talking about going to go war, but yet Russia was signing oil deals and stuff. So here's a breakdown once again. How that's laid out. See if we can blow this up. Yeah, moderately. Israeli oil fields area still to be prospected off Lebanon. Disputed area in here. Israeli gas fields, Cyprus gas fields, area already prospected in the blue shading. Maritime border, Egyptian gas fields. Palestinians even have a gas field. Who knew? Down here in this little section here. All right. This is kind of the layout. After 9 years, companies are flocking to the region after other discoveries in the territorial waters off Israel, Cyprus, and Egypt. Med's Levant Basin, such as the Leviathan gas field, in 2010 and Zohr in 2015, have potential to transform the strategic importance of the region, as if it wasn't bad enough already. Let's get more attention to the area. Turkey's energy hub ambitions. Few states in the world are geographically so well positioned as Turkey. The country controls Russia's only warm water port in the Black Sea and serves as the bridge between East and West. Therefore, during the Cold War, Ankara was an indispensable member of NATO. Well, that's always been suspect lately. Turkey has the ambition to become an energy hub for Middle East and Caspian energy. Ankara has mixed success in attracting investors and maintaining political stability. Right? How long is this article? Okay, not too long. After Israel's significant, where did they go? Whoa, lost myself. After Israel's significant discoveries, a U.S.-backed initiative presented Turkey as an energy hub. Although a land pipeline is the cheapest option to transport gas from the Med to Europe, political developments have stalled construction. I guess Aragon would be the reason there. President Aragon's escalating public denunciations of Israel have made Jerusalem look for other options. Furthermore, relations with Europe have also been damaged, which would be dependent on Turkey as a transit country. Egypt as the regional gas hub. Egypt has the third largest gas reserves in Africa. That's known. I'm sure if we did more exploration, there'd be more elsewhere in Africa. I can't imagine Egypt having the most. That's just what's been explored. Egypt's export-oriented liquid natural gas industry came upstream in 2004, but was shut mid-2013 due to lack of resources. And their, what was that called? Not the Egyptian Spring, Arab Spring. That was about that same time frame, right? The growth of the domestic market demand, yada, yada. So Egypt's got all these resources. Tensions between Egypt and Israel far from normal. Striking deals for the first quarter starting in 2019. What's BCM? In 10 years, 64 BCM worth, 10 billion BCM. What kind of, I don't know what that stands for. Don't they know that's a right out there? Anyway, they're in agreement up to $10 billion worth. So it looks at having a deal agreement between Egypt, which was until recently was exporting to Israel. And with this deal comes closer to becoming an energy hub. What's their point here? The Eastern Mediterranean Sea Basin promises great rewards, but risks are high, with Turkey potentially being the only country that doesn't profit from the gas bonanza. Faces a united front from the other states on the Eastern Med. It's highly unlikely that Turkey will be able to profit the same way as Cyprus and Egypt or Israel. So everybody's trying to cut out Israel because they're so unstable. So many problems with Aragon and everything, I would say. But Russia was trying to get that pipeline through Syria to offload it into the Med, and then further pipelines into Europe as a part of a deal to put more gas and oil into Europe from Russia. Everybody's bypassing Turkey. Wes, heard the run is going to be really weak this year. Run of what? What are you running for, Wes? Bug Out Bubby, you had no idea about Dearborn? You were visiting the Ford Museum and got lost. Oh, man, I don't know if I've ever been to Dearborn or not. I know I went to the Ford Museum years ago. But I'm pretty sure when I went to Dearborn, it was nothing like it is now. They're talking back in the 80s. Probably could have driven around the parts that were such as it is now. El Chavez is with us. Good morning. The NWO is bucking for resources all over the world, indeed. Walter Davis, hey, good morning. Walter just dropped a video. I haven't been able to watch it yet. I have to go. Are you sharing your words of wisdom with us, Walter, this morning? Wes S., see you later. Have a good day. What else is going on out in everybody else's section of the world? Looked like the stock markets were back to like normal. Everybody was under a lot cooler and calmer this morning. Bonds are back down to a trending down, so everybody was kind of happy with that. But everything seems to be going kind of sideways. Like nobody wants to do anything. Nobody wants the big drop to hit them again. Maybe once we get through October, everybody will chill out. Everybody will think everything's normal. But that whole debacle last week and a half ago, had everybody panicked a little bit. You're talking about steel, Walter? Okay, that would tie right in. I'll have to go watch it shortly. Did ZPD Survival checked in with us, snuck in there? What's going on, ZPD? Yeah, ZPD probably knows about Dearborn. Rooster Cogburn, good morning. What's going on? So now after all this contention with China, and CNBC's talking about China stocks are up, that's good for certain other stocks. Everything's so intertwined. Nothing can exist without the other nowadays. People are going to wonder why it all falls apart at one time. But between the caravan and this weather, About the only other thing you can hear anybody talk about is the elections coming up. Hopefully everybody's paying attention locally, what's going on around them. There's all kinds of some nefarious stuff they try to sneak in during off years between ballot initiatives, depending on how your state works it, with all these different questions. They always try to sneak that stuff in on off years because there's so little participation. They get their people all excited to go vote for their petition, their question, whatever they want to call it, and get something voted, approved, or whatever, with even less participation than a presidential election year. Seems to be the way they work those things sometimes. Oh, the caravan swells to 7,000 in this article. We just said 5,000 in the other one. This is a Daily Mail article. We had just read 5,000. Goodness. They might have included the 1,000 that just went into Guatemala, which should be miles and hundreds of miles away from the original 4,000. So maybe they're combining all those together. One big long stream of people. Never ending pipeline. They're saying the ones in southern Mexico is swelled to 7,000 people. So probably a bunch of Mexicans are like, well, I'm leaving too. Let's go. Several hundred have applied for refugee status in Mexico. 1,500 are still on the Guatemalan side of Suchiate River, something like that. There's that same picture. Yeah, that's interesting. They got a 7,000 estimate. That's definitely a lot of people, though. There's probably a good soccer match in Mexico. Is probably all it is. At least they got their road guard vests out. We're Saints. He would be impressed with their road guard safety. So everybody's got safety vests on to keep from getting run over there. They got bullhorns, keep everybody in control, and yeah, nice organized event. Interestingly, for a big mob that's supposedly a big mob. Seems to be quite organized. Getting all these green glow vests and providing for everybody safe transit. Smoking Locust, good morning, Smolo. What's going on? How was your weekend? Caregiver 7751. Haven't seen you in a while. How you doing? You're up there by Dearborn too, huh? Or you've at least been around enough to know what it's about. So that Zero Hedge has several good articles out this morning. Just big picture stuff. Speaking of the grooming gangs, was reading a couple things this weekend. Tommy Robinson might be going back to jail because he won't do a plea deal. So they want to send him to prison just because he won't take a deal instead of fighting it in court on a separate charge from what he was released from last time, I believe. So bizarreness there. They're just trying to silence him some more, of course, on that deal. There were rumors that there were soldiers from 82nd Airborne going to the border out of Fort Bragg last night. I have not seen or confirmed anything of that nature. But there was this idea that President Trump had declared a national emergency over this whole migrant thing. But I've seen no other articles to confirm it. But the rumor mill had it that the Fort Bragg was sending soldiers to South Texas or elsewhere along the southern border. So I don't know, stay alert for that. I don't know if that might be kept under the radar until they're in place. but that'll definitely up the ante a little bit on that side if we do that. So keep your eyeballs out, or your earballs, your whatever contacts you might have out there somewhere. Somebody might be able to get better information on that. But so that's uncorroborated, but it was put out there. Hey, Irish USMC vet, good morning. Hope you had a good weekend. Anybody else got any rumors of war going on out there they want to throw out there? Other than, like we said, Bug Out Bubba's excursion into Dearborn, even though he made it out alive. Looking on down the lower levels of the Drudge. Not too much stands out. The rumor last week was that Hillary's still going to run again in 2020. I think that was the joke before the weekend. I don't know who could take that seriously. They're talking over here about Bernie going to run in 2020, which is not surprising. Earthquakes in Canada. I did not see that. Is this off the West Coast, or it says offshore? That's lightly aligned with the Juan de Fuca. Yeah, British Columbia. So that would have, whoa, that's pretty good. Wow. Powerful earthquakes strike the shore of Canada. Several powerful earthquakes are reported near Vancouver Island, and that's Food Forest area again. 6.8 magnitude included in that. Sunday evening, a depth of about 6 miles, struck 149 miles west of Tofino, Canada. I wonder if there was a tsunami alert put out for that. Tsunami is not expected, they tweeted out. Okay. Oh, that's the shortest article ever. That was overnight up there on Vancouver. That's interesting. They had that tsunami alert last year, or was it back in the spring? Where they actually had the tsunami evacuation go out, and as a precaution of a earthquake off the shore up there. No injuries and no damage reported. Lightly felt on shore. 3 quakes ranged from 6.5 to 6.8. That's pretty sizable ones. It'd be no joke if they actually got a tsunami going. That's interesting. Maybe Food Forest can give us a rundown next time he checks in on that earthquake situation off Canada there. That's right in his backyard. See if it actually was powerful or as sketchy as they sound. He probably slept through it. Something we've covered all summer, the Brazilian elections are coming up as well. Their guy that got stabbed that's still running. That unrest, which hasn't helped because Venezuela's falling apart. Speaking of Venezuela, it's been kind of out of the news cycle for a couple weeks, ever since Maduro went to China. And then you got the South Africa situation as well, which we talked about last week with the they're going to try that land expropriation as a test case in one town and see how it goes down. They're doing the court test so that the government can say the government did nothing wrong. The government approves of itself, which is basically all that'll do. Well, that's about it, folks, on this end. I don't see anything too spectacular other than Bug Out Bubba's excursion into Dearborn. Sounds like everybody had a not much of a exciting weekend. Yeah, wars and rumors of wars. All right, folks, we're going to check out on you. Did we get updated our map? Did I get stuck with? I gotta have to. Now that I figured out how to do overlays on here, fancy colors and stuff on our maps from now on, which are quite extensive. But hope everybody had a good weekend. Kick it into gear today. Don't drink too much coffee. And we'll see you back here at some point on the interwebs, right? But thanks for checking in. Looks like everybody's showed up this morning. Appreciate it. And have a good day. We'll talk to you later. Live free.